Not the Footy Show.
Forward sizzle.
We are one different.
Yep. What do you got?
Canberra aren't making the finals this year.
Oh, stop it. I'm hanging up. I got to go, mate. The bars are calling me. The honky tonks are playing my tune. What are you talking about?
G'day, everybody. Welcome to episode 281 of Not the Footy Show on Warrick, Nicolson. I've got Mr. Robb Cox on the line, and we've gone international for this 2023 NRL prediction special. It's phenomenal to think that our reach has now got to a little town called Nashville, Tennessee. Mr. Coxsmith, give us your best Tennessee accent, sunshine.
I don't do Tennessee accents, but yes, mate, we are here. We're direct from here. We're beaming back to Australia via the interwebs.
And it's beaming so well that we can't see his face because the reception's not good enough in Tennessee.
That's right. Well, not in this hotel. If I walked outside the hotel, it is. It actually works unbelievably well, but it's a bit hot out there today. But mate, the talk of the town here is not the Footy Show being in town.
It's not Manly winning the preseason challenge.
No. That's big news as well.
I know, it's huge.
But not the Footy Show being in town is eclipsing Manly winning the preseason challenge.
I tell you, I think I read something the other day that Sean Penn opens Manly. Sean's done excellent. It's the influence of the US on me straight away. Scott Penn's already declared that the Anthony Seibold appointment's been a raging success after winning two preseason games, and you can't make this stuff up.
Well, it seems a couple of teams are really leveraging off the preseason. Haven't the Titans memberships gone through the roof because they did well in the preseason?
I sent you that. It was on Twitter, and it just says membership surge on success. And I'm like, please don't be regarding the preseason challenge. Click the link. I sent you it, and it was, of course, no numbers, no reference to actually how many people have signed up. So 10 might have actually signed up in the scope of the last 2 weeks.
That's a surge.
Normal, but anyway, fuel the energy. That's their saying. The other big thing that happened was that St Helens upset not only Penrith but Phil Gould as well with a pretty resounding victory in the World Club Challenge. And Coxsmith, as we start the show, and we'll get to all our predictions for 23, it's coming. This is the best thing that could have happened in the game, because if Penrith win, there is just no way they react like St Helens did on Saturday night.
No, not at all. But I've got to take you to task on a resounding win by 1 point in Golden Point, mate. I mean,
greatest win in English history, mate. Come on,
resounding win. Look, mate. They won. I didn't watch the game. I saw the highlights on the net, and. Yeah, I guess when you get a tight game like that, it can go either way. And Penrith have been so good for a while now at having that buffer that they don't normally get down to Golden Point games.
Yeah.
They haven't played too many Golden Point games in the last few years. So, but fair play to St Helens. They did the business. They were really good, though. Very workmanlike, and I reckon you'll see at least a couple of those. Pommy fellas playing in the NRL quite soon.
I'm glad that we saw them give it to Penrith, even if they'd lost. I mean, I know that Tyre scored a try at the end, and then Cleary kicked the goal and did a very interesting celebration. It's good to see that they've got some individuality and they haven't just been copying the US again. What I found really comforting was it meant something to them, and it meant something to the Penrith players. But this was always going to be a challenge for Penrith, regardless of whether you're on the field goal a spectrum of they're going to win and declare at half-time. The fact is, this is the first hit out for all those players since the World Cup in terms of the quality ones for Penrith. They would have had a limited amount of preseason compared to normal. Their first run out. The fact is they got beaten, but it would have been very interesting to see what happened if Penrith had been able to play a lead-in game. Because that's what St Helens got the week before against the Dragons.
Yeah, and look, I think what it comes down to, though, is the level of importance that Cleary Senior puts on that game. And I don't think I think he wanted to win. I think they want to win every game that they play in. But I think the extra week for their supreme players that they have in that team to have a rest for an extra week is really what he wanted. And I think whenever he gets the chance during the year, he's going to have to manage that because seeing as they've lost a couple of players this year, those really important players are even more important. And I think he needs to manage their welfare and their time on the field this year. So, but fair play to St Helens, mate. They faced the mighty Panthers and they beat them. And good luck to them.
The best thing for Penrith possible entering 2023, as far as I'm concerned. They needed this. I agree. And they're a team that thrives on proving the haters wrong. So they've just created a situation that for at least the first 6 to 8 weeks they're going to be determined to make this feeling go away. You're in the US, Coxsmith. Does that mean you're super keen for the season, or it's just the way things panned out? You're just trying to get as far away from Australia as possible so you can stay away from rugby league. What's the deal? How keen are you for 2020?
I'm always keen. When the season rolls around, I'm excited to be in rugby league season. I'm excited for a few reasons this year. Every year is a little bit different, like it depends on who you follow. I'm excited that, Saints are going to have a new coach by the end of the year.
That's a long tenure.
Well, they'll definitely have one by the end of the year. But that excites me.
Yeah. No, good. I was at a book launch for Mascord's Two Tribes the other night. Oh, yeah. And
was Steve there?
Steve was there. It was good to see him for the first time in about 7 years. He's been obviously in the UK for the bulk of that time. And what was interesting is that there was a group of about 8 of us there, different walks of life, obviously. There was a few Bears fans. Even the Bears fans are keen for the football. That was probably the thing that I took away, is that some of them admitted that, there's no way they're picking another team, but now they watch more football than ever. It was a funny way of understanding, I guess, how you deal with the fact if your team sort of disappeared. And you're sort of dealing with that at the moment because that's what the Dragons are doing. Players are disappearing left, right, and centre from your roster.
Well, I think the Dragons for a little while have been disappearing up their own bum. Yeah. That's what's been happening to the Dragons. But mate, you know what? Whenever I hear stories about Bears fans, I get a little bit melancholy and a little bit, I start to feel a little bit depressed for them because imagine having your team ripped out from underneath you. And it didn't happen the best for them because they went and merged with their arch nemesis before they were.
I asked this question of a few of the Bears fans on Wednesday night. It was like, okay, obviously it was any team but Manly you wanted to merge with, and they ended up merging with Manly. And I asked, who was a team you would have liked to, if the way that things changed between sort of 94 and 98 for the Bears is remarkable. If you ever want to go down it, walk down memory lane, they're one of the leading clubs in 94. Yep. And by 98,
they played in finals and
they're in all sorts. And the team that they said, and that I was thinking, was it would have been very interesting to see if they explored a merger with Para, because I grew up in the Northwest Sydney region and we had Norths come to us when I was in primary school, but that was the natural area. Parramatta went north from Para and the Bears kind of went northwest. And if you'd merged those two teams together, I think you would have, you sort of almost saw that because Gary Larson went there and so did Jason Taylor within a couple of years. But that was sort of the merger that I thought probably would be the most palpable or palatable, for fans to have got behind. But the comment that was made to me was Dennis Fitzgerald would never have allowed that. And I'm thinking, well, he also didn't he want to merge with Penrith at the same time? Very interesting. Anyway, let's merge our thoughts into 2023.
Yep.
If you haven't got the book yet, I've only just picked it up. I'm going to read it. Two Tribes from Steve Mascord. Check it out. You can find it on Google, etc. I want to start with our top 8s for 2023, Coxsmith. We're not going to spend an inordinate amount of time on any particular team. I just want us to see if we're on the same page in what we think the top 8s are going to be. Obviously, drill down who's going to contend for the title. And probably, I'm imagining we won't have exactly the same top 8s this time. So we'll then focus on the two or three teams that are fitting either side. I'll start with your top 4, mate. Who have you got sitting in the top 4?
So when we do this, when I tell you my top 4, they're all interchangeable as far as I don't know who's going to finish first, second, third, or fourth, but I believe this is my top four, and then so on for the rest of the 17.
Sorry, everybody. I'll make definitive spots for him. It's all right. He can sit on the fence, and I'll.
Oh no, I'm not sitting on the fence. This is how I strongly believe that they'll finish. The top 4, 8. But so I think the top 4 will be Penrith, Roosters, Storm, and Souths. Now I don't think I'm breaking new ground there.
No, you're not, because I'm one different. No, I'm the same. Sorry, I'm the same in the same 4 teams, different order. Yep.
Okay. And then do you want to go through the next 4?
Well, I'll give you mine. I've got Penrith.
Yeah, go for it.
Roosters, South, then Melbourne. So we've swapped the South and Storm. But I think there's no doubt that you enter the season. The question for me isn't Penrith. It's not Rabbitohs. It's not Storm. We know they're good. The Roosters is the team that on paper should be better than almost Penrith this year. Their team is stacked. It's just that back line is incredible. And even though you don't have Tupanura all year, they're going to fill in with him fine. They've got no Crichton to start the year. They'll fill in for him fine. They've lost Takiyaho. They'll fill in for him fine.
Yeah.
What makes you
think? Got lots of depth.
What makes you think? Is it just the attacking potency of the Roosters is the reason you've got them sitting up there with Brandon Smith now joining?
Why have I got them so high, or why I don't have them finish first?
Why have you got, like, at the end of the day, like last year, the Roosters finished 6th and they lost in the first week of the finals. Like, why are we both high on them is what I'm asking you.
Okay, I do think that their depth is incredible. They can cover almost anyone, like you just mentioned. They've also added Brandon Smith, which I think he'll make a big difference if he remains fit and doesn't get sent off, through the year. Sam Walker's got another year, under his belt. Luke Keary is always good, but I still fear for a head knock. He's one head knock away from retirement.
We didn't play the preseason because of concussion. So
yeah, and I think he did have a slight concussion from a knock at training. So they said it wasn't one of the worst ones that he's had, obviously, but he still had a moment. And look, I know that this sounds terribly heartless, but there will be teams that'll test him. There'll be teams that I'm sure that they're not going to get on the TV and say that they're going to do it, but there'll be back rowers that are going to pressure him and test his head when they tackle him. That's just the way football is. Unfortunately, it's a little bit medieval like that. But I do think that they're a better team than 6th for sure and certain. Yeah. So, and with Coach Robinson, I mean, he's one of the supreme coaches in the comp, and he knows how to win comps, and he knows how to prepare his team to do that. So I think they'll be much better this year than they were last.
Big reason I've got them jumping up into 2nd for the reasons you've said. I love the fact that Suaalii is going into the centres. I mean, that's a three-headed monster, really. If you've got Tedesco at fullback, Manu on the right, and Suaalii on the left, that forward pack does their job. They're going to be scoring points.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
They were 15-9 last year. They turned 2 of those games around. They go to 17-7, and that's how the Cowboys finished last year, and they were 3rd, a game behind Cronulla. So if you just give them 2 more wins, they're definitely back in the top 4. And I thought last year they had some average performances, and those 9 losses felt like more than almost 9. That was the strange thing about the Roosters last year. I think they improved considerably. That's why I've got them up into 2nd. We talk about Penrith and the Coruscant thing. Is that the bigger loss, or is Kikau the bigger loss for them?
Oh, well, I look at it like this. If you had to trade one, you still had them both, but you had a gun to your head and you had to trade one, I'd let Kikau go before Coruscant. I think Coruscant made such a difference to Nathan Cleary and the attack of that team. Not discounting what Kikau brought to the team, but I do think that Coruscant was probably your more valuable player. And I think he's going to be a little bit hard to replace this year. I mean, it brings Penrith back a little bit to the field. And they're not going to have it all their own way this year because of that. And Cleary's probably not going to have it all his own way either. He's going to have to learn how to attack without that great push out of dummy half that Coruscant brings. So
I think particularly heading upfield is where he's going to struggle. It's not inside the 20. I think he'll be fine there.
It's getting out of danger and pushing through the middle. Yeah.
So Mitch Kenny has a big job ahead of him. It's funny, they lost Taylor May to a knee injury. Twitter can be a brutal place at times.
Pretty ordinary one too, by the way.
But that's the match review panel, the judiciary, Jake Dishery just getting in early season form. It really is. That would have been it's a one-off game. He's not really in our competition. I know it was apparently the RFL and NRL who came to the decision to not charge him, but anyway, so he's out.
Decision.
He's out for the year. The thing is, they'll probably end up with a rookie of the year replacing him. Taruva's a gun. He'll come on the wing and he'll probably win rookie of the year. Like that's why when I saw a story the other day saying, they want dispensation for losing please. And if they apparently want Dom,
they can't get that.
Imagine if they got Dom Young early and yet they wouldn't release Burton. Classic. Anyway, they think Cleary has a massive season and runs away with every pretty much award this year. I think he will steer him back to the top. Souths and Melbourne.
Yep.
Souths and Melbourne. Pappy out for the first possible half of the season, buddy. That's why I've got him dropping to fourth. I like it when he comes back for him. But the thing about Melbourne, and someone said this, they were saying about the Parramatta Melbourne first game matchup. They've gone, they lost all the Bromwich brothers. They've lost Safusi. Kamikamitha's out. They're going to really struggle up front. I'm thinking, well, Parramatta have lost a lot of forwards as well. The thing that Melbourne have still is they'll get Meaney at fullback. That's okay. But they'll have Munster, Hughes, and Harry Grant. They've got the best spine when it's fit, as far as I'm concerned, Melbourne. So that's why I've got them sitting in the 4. Is that why you're still believing in them?
Yeah, I think any team that you've got those 3 players playing together in the players you just mentioned, in Munster, Hughes and Grant, I think they're just so good. They're so good, and they've lost some older forwards, which will obviously open the door for some young guys to come in. I think Christian Welsh will be back early this year, so he's going to be fit, and he's such a good player for them. So I can't discount the Storm based on we haven't really seen much of them yet, and we're making very bold predictions before a game started. But I just can't say that they're not going to be in the top 4. I just think that they're brilliantly coached and a great administered club. They've brought players through that you've never heard of before that have been world beaters. And I think they're just going to keep doing that while ever Bellamy's there anyway. I
want to see Pappy come back fully healthy. I think if he does, Melbourne will be a team that's going to be running red hot towards the end of the year, a bit like they did, I think, in 21. I know they fell short in that season, but back into the year, they were incredible. That's where I feel like Melbourne might be. And they find ways to win. Look at their record to open seasons. It's crazy good. South Sydney are the other team we've got in the top 4, mate. And 5 straight prelims. I don't know. Yeah, Mitchell's a gun. Walker's a gun. Getting older, though. Murray's a gun. Johnson will be probably the highest ever try scorer for us in rugby league. And Damien Cook's a gun.
Yep.
The thing about putting South in the top 4, is they were 7th last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Latrell Mitchell at the back end of the season. Okay? We're both putting Cowboys and Sharks out of our top 4 after they finished 2nd and 3rd last year. Why are we saying South is back up into that? Like, I know they made prelims, but we're putting them up 4 spots. Why?
Yeah. Well, I think just given what we've seen in pre-season form, I think basically we've got Latrell has come off the back of a really pretty good World Cup for him, and you're also you've also got Damien Cook was probably disappointed. He's probably got a little bit to prove.
Yeah, with the Australian stuff. Yep.
And Walker, I honestly think they've got one. I think this is their last year of their window to win a premiership, because I don't know if Walker's going to be as good next year. I mean, the bloke's about 60 years old. I've said this before. He's older than you think.
Yeah.
Because he didn't debut till he was about 27.
26, 27, yeah. Yeah.
So
no, I hear you.
He's 30. What is he, 33 now?
I think he's 33 this year.
Right. And he plays tough. He doesn't really run away from too much. So I'm not sure if he's going to have the legs beyond this year to be a premiership, 5'8". So I think they're going to really push for it this year. And with Damien Cook not getting any younger, Latrell will still be around for years. But I think that, I think the message this year from Demetriou will be, boys, this is our year.
Agreed.
So, let's see what happens. I really hope that some of the young guys do get runs, though. I feel desperately bad for Blake Taff, who I think is, at any other team, is a regular first grade, 5'8" / fullback. So I'm not too sure how long he's on contract for, but I think other clubs should be investigating because he hasn't really got. Unfortunately, with Walker and Latrell there, he's got to wait for an injury or a suspension before he's going to really get too much time. You can sit him on the bench as maybe a spark player, but I'm not sure that's his role.
You want him playing football. Just put him in New South Wales Cup and you want him playing football. So when you got to call on him, he's been playing regular footy. So I mentioned before how we lost Cronulla and North Queensland in the top 4. We also lost Parramatta. We've got 3 teams out of last year's top 4.
Yeah, I do, and I think you'll find they're in my next 4. But we'll go through that now if you want.
It's just the final point I want to make about our top 4s. Best players and the best teams. That's why I've got my top 4s the way they are. That's how I look at it. The best players on those 4 sides are amongst the best in the game, and there's a few of them. So that's why we've got that. Who's your 5 to 8, mate?
5 to 8 in order.
Yep.
Sharks, North Queensland, Raiders, and Parramatta.
We are one different.
Yep. What do you got?
Canberra aren't making the finals this year.
Oh, stop it. I'm hanging up. I got to go, mate. The bars are calling me. The honky tonks are playing my tune. What are you talking about? You're a Raiders supporter, mate.
I am. I'm wearing a Raiders shirt. I got Raiders paraphernalia in the background. My door's just open, so interesting.
Well, who have you got in?
Manly.
What's going on?
Tommy. Tommy's healthy. Manly make the 8.
You cannot keep your lips away from Silvertail Seabold's backside. What's going on?
He called me the other day and he said, "Look, I want to get you in for a meeting in the boardroom because in the boardroom, boardroom is where I do my best work."
That's where he does his best work.
Tommy, there's some stats about Tommy, and he was on the news last night, and it's like, Daly Chervin's going, we've found ways to get around Tommy not playing. We're going to win without. I was like, please, come on. Newcastle couldn't win without Joey. Manly don't win without.
Has DCE been drug tested after that statement?
He just had his head shaved, so I don't know what that was all about.
Wow.
Look, the reason for Canberra missing the 8 is that I was worried after last year. I thought we got a hot streak. We got brought back to earth by Para. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. We saw Xavier Savage sort of develop. We saw Fogarty healthy for the back end of the year. Whiten was interested. But a lot of our game came out of Joe Tapine in the middle. And
hold on. Can we say his name correctly?
Tapine.
It's Tapine.
Sorry.
Don't call him Tapine. I don't think he likes it.
Okay. I wasn't even thinking that, to be honest, so I apologise. And what strikes me is if Xavier Savage isn't there for the first 6 weeks because of a busted jaw, I just don't know how Canberra score points. And
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
The problem that I've got, this is why I've got him missing the 8. This is the crucial reason. Don't have him for 6 weeks. Ricky is going to go with Seb Chris at fullback.
Yep.
We're not scoring points. The only way we're scoring points this year is through Fogarty's kicking game. And I think those 6 weeks, Coxsmith, is why we missed the 8. We go 2 and 4. I think we missed the 8.
What about that young guy that did his cruciate?
Harley Smith Shields. Well, he's a centre. That's what Ricky did in the last trial. He played him at centre, and Rapana told him that he wanted to play on the wing. So that's what he's doing. Look, I would prefer Albert Hopewade to be there. Something that offers something, not Seb Chris. Leave him at the centre in the centres. This is why Canberra's missing the 8. I just think that those first 6 weeks without Savage is just huge.
What's just I'm just being a bit silly for a moment, but what's Ricky's son? Is he a fullback?
No, I think Jed's a
Is he a half?
centre or a second rower or something. But he's like he's not even in the squad. He's like train and trial sort of. He'll play.
He's not in the 30.
Not in the 30.
Okay.
So that's where that's why I got Canberra out. Yep.
I guarantee you he'll play NRL this year.
Okay. Well, big calls. We've got Cowboys, we've got Sharks, we've got Eels, both in our 8s.
Yep.
But they were the 4 teams. They were the teams.
So you got Manly.
I've got Manly coming in, and you've got Raiders. So everyone knows I've got Cowboys into Sharks, into Eels, and then Manly in 8th. That's how I'm seeing it go out. And look, Tommy is Tommy. That's the thing. It's not going to be Supercoach Seabold's coaching. It'll be whether Tom Trbojevic is healthy, because we just know. And the thing about Tommy, I was getting back to quickly, is he plays Origin. New South Wales win Origin. He doesn't play Origin. New South Wales don't win Origin. No. Pretty good indication of the impact of a play like that. Cowboys, Sharks, and Eels, mate. They're in the top 4. We left them out. Eels made the grand final. I've pushed them down to 7th. You pushed them down to 8th. Why?
Well, I look, mate, it comes down to this. They lost their hooker, who I think was probably the best young hooker in the comp.
Great.
I don't particularly trust their halves. Said it before. I'm not going to get onto that whole rant again, but I don't trust their halves, including Dylan Brown. I still think he's got some work to do. And Moses, I'm just not sure is your guy under super high pressure games. They lost Papali'i. They're a really good back rower. So I've got them down a couple of notches for sure. Look, I think getting to the grand final last year was probably they overachieved, considering what they did during the year, and I'm not sure that losing that grand final in the fashion they did is real good for their heads. They got flogged. In that grand final. The scoreboard didn't say so much.
No, it didn't.
But they got toyed with. And they know it. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that they know that. They probably wouldn't be talking about it every day at training, but in their moments of honesty, when they've got to lay in bed and think, what happened last year, I'm not sure they'll be doing too much of that going forward, but there would have been plenty, since. I think they'll know that they got pumped.
And they missed their
chance. They need to do a lot more, and their window has closed a bit. In Papali'i and Marnie leaving. I think.
They also start the year without Ryan Madison and Sean Lane busted his jaw. I mean, round one's going to tell you a lot about how the Gutho Brown Moses combo can deal with a much reduced forward back. They still have their two props.
Their backs will be against the wall straight up.
How much has Josh Hodgson got left in the tank is the big question for them. Sharks and Cowboys, I think it's not a case of us not liking them. And they did a really good job last year.
I like them.
We're basically elevating 3 teams based on those best players. That's what it comes down to. And Cowboys, their best 2 players are Holmes and Drinkwater quality. But is that Mitchell and Cook? Is that Mitchell and Walker? Is that Tedesco and Manu? Is that Cleary and Luai? Is that Pappenhausen and Munster? It's not. It's just not. And that's why I've got them sitting in 5th. Anything more on those guys you want to talk about?
No, not really. They're one of those teams, aren't they? They're kind of hidden up there in North Queensland, and we don't talk a lot about them. They don't seem to play too many games in Sydney, so we don't get to really see them that often. I know that sounds strange, but they are kind of the Northern Conference kings up there. We just don't see them, and we don't take much notice of them until they start to win a lot of games. Well, I think we're kind of discounting Dearden a little bit there, mate, because we saw what he did last year in Origin. I think he's got some real potential. So I've got to put him in my top few players that are there.
Taumalolo.
So Taumalolo, I mean, look, he's another player that can have a massive impact on the game.
Yep.
They've also got I forget the young hooker's name that used to be a St George player, Reece Robson.
Yeah. Hang on. How have you not mentioned Lechad yet, dude?
Yeah, well, you know what? I know.
You played well last year.
I don't dislike Chad to the levels that you do. So
I don't dislike him.
Yes, you do.
I don't dislike him.
I think he's a very good, solid first grader. He's brought a bit of stability to that team.
Solid. What a compliment. Yep.
Well, he is. He is, mate. I think he's brought some real stability to that team, and he's allowing Dearden to play a game that he may not be able to play under a lesser halfback partner. So, yeah, the Cowboys are that team that if there's anyone in that bottom eight that's going to push into in that bottom four of the top eight that's going to push into the top four of the top eight,
or get back to the top four because they were there last year.
Or get back. Yep. They'll be the ones in my mind.
My only criticism here, and it's football related, clearly. They missed a chance last year. They had Parramatta at home in the tropics, and they'd found a way to get over the Sharkies in that extra time game. Great game of footy. Townsend didn't get it done in that prelim. That's my concern, is that, when you need that big play, Holmes is stuck out on the centres, and Drinkwater couldn't do it. And to me, your halfback's got to be the one that steps up and does that. And I thought he was average in that prelim when they needed him to be the difference maker. And that's probably my big criticism of Lechad, is that, as you say, he's a really solid first grade halfback. Is he a premiership winning one again? I know he won in 2016, but again, I don't know. Just don't know.
Townsend has a little bit of the Mitchell Moses about him in my mind.
Okay.
Is really, really good for 85% of the season, and then when it comes down to big pressure moments and moments where you desperately need your halfback to do the business, occasionally, not every time, occasionally he goes missing.
Yep.
And to me, that's the difference between the very best halfbacks or playmakers and the ones that are, still very good, but not the very best.
Cronulla, let's go to them quickly to round out our top eights. I'll get your thoughts on Canberra in a second as well. But Cronulla, I have a concern.
What is it? I like Cronulla as well.
They played really good last year. Their record was 18 wins, 6 losses. They only conceded 364 points, just like 15 a game. It's like third best in the comp. I felt like they breezed through the season a bit last year, and then they went out in straight sets. I worry about them bouncing back from that defensively. Their attack was really good last year, but it wasn't. And this is a really key thing. I'm looking at the stats right now. In your head, you go, Cronulla scored 1 billion points last year. Do you know that they were the second worst attacking team in the top 8 last year?
I didn't know that, but I haven't been wondering about it either.
But they had the third best defense. But my point is, and it wasn't like they were like 30 points behind the 6th ranked team in the top 8 for points for. I don't know. I just felt like last year with a little bit, and they deserved everything that came their way. They played great footy. It just felt a little bit easy. I don't think they go 18-6 again. Just can't see it. And I'm worried about defensively, can they hold up over another full season? I'm not convinced their pack is as good as what it sort of alluded to last year, and the straight sets losses in the semis. It's something that you got to try and recover from, and not every team does that.
Just a question, without notice. When they bought Nico Hines, did they buy him as a half, or what did they buy him as?
Well,
or a fullback.
Time they bought him, it was as Will Kennedy's emerging. So he'd been playing fullback at Melbourne, and they signed him, and then they went, well, Will Kennedy's pretty good. I'm sure we did a podcast on this where we talked about if Kennedy doesn't have that breakthrough, then Hines is going straight back to fullback. But he ended up going to halfback and carved up best player in the game last year. Dally did his team to second. Great stuff. I don't think he'll be the issue defensively as well.
No.
With the Sharkies, and I've got him finishing 6th. You've got him in 5th.
Yeah. Another question, because you're all over this. Who have they bought this year? Have they got any new players coming in, and who have they lost?
Here's the problem with Cronulla, is that when you go out and you spend a lot of money, like a lot of money, you are kind of in a situation where, Finucane, they added Hines. They don't end up with a lot of new blood. I'm just looking at their transfers. Give me 2 seconds. It doesn't come into my head that they added a lot.
There's no one.
Their biggest name is Oregon for Footy.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And they get Jack Williams back from basically a full injury for the year. But there's nobody else of note. And last year, as I said, they get Finucane, they get Hines. Yep. They even got a guy like who did a really good job from when he played, but a guy like Ikavalu, who's pretty good. Yep. They got Cameron McInnes. When you have those big off seasons, then the next season's harder to, I guess, be as aggressive in the market. So the answer is not much.
Okay. Well, yeah. Look, I've got them. I've actually got them. Like I said before, I've got them in 5th. And if they pick up where they left off, and I think the coach will have probably reminded them quite a few times about how they performed in the finals, and that's not up to Fitzgibbons. I don't think that's up to the levels he wants them to play to going forward. But when I look at a team like Cronulla, who don't have any, not any massive genuine superstars, but they've kind of got good players across the paddock and a really good coach. I've got to have them in the top 8. So
I'm there as well.
That's what happened.
Just a final point on those semi-final losses. They considered 32 points and 38 points.
Yep.
Back-to-back semi-final games.
Yep.
Now you want to talk about building your team on defence, that's great. But, you can't give up 70 points in 2 semi-finals and expect to get the pointy end.
Yeah, but that was obviously not to the same character that they defended all year. Those games were pretty well blowouts. They were trying to go, blow for blow with their opposition, and they just didn't figure it out. So,
why Canberra in the 8? Is that because they were there last year? Is there
No. I look again. I'm probably putting too much emphasis on the coach. I think Ricky is a very good coach, and I think he's one of those guys that can lift a team probably above and beyond to what they would be under another coach or a lesser coach. And I think the players, look, what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, the players love Ricky.
Yep.
Most of them. And I didn't include the players' wives in that. Yep. But the players love Ricky and do turn up for Ricky. And, they've arguably got the best front rower in the comp.
Who might play lock.
Well, that's okay. You can do that too. I think they're lacking a little bit in a couple of areas, especially around their attack. They're going to be out without their new fullback for a little while, and with his broken jaw.
That's huge. It's just huge.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible that pre-season. This happens every pre-season, though. Yeah. We get players doing ACLs, so we get players doing broken jaws or shoulder injuries where they're out for 10 weeks or whatever it is. It happens every year, but it's just another game of football. It can happen in any game of football.
Correct.
So pre-season is just that. You kind of need a little bit of a pre-season to prep you for the season. Depending on how you want to start, because let's be honest, you've only got to win, 15 or so games of your 25, is it? 24, whatever they're playing.
I think 13 or 14 will get you close this year in 24.
Yeah. So you've only got to win. You don't need to come out of the barriers like a maniac. You can kind of jog out of the barrier and finish strong. But I do, mate. I do like the Raiders. I love their tenacity. I'm looking across the park, and they're not too many massive superstars, but they'll get the job done more than they won't, and that'll get them into the top 8, in my opinion.
Okay, so there's our top 8s. Coxsmith has gone Penrith, Roosters, Storm, South, Sharks, Cowboys, Raiders, Parramatta. I've gone Penrith, Roosters, South, Storm, Cowboys, Sharks, Eels, and Manly. What's the rest of your 17, mate? So 9 to 17.
Okay.
Go through it.
9 to 17, I've got the Dogs finishing in 9th, the Broncos in 10th, your top 8 team Manly in 11th.
Yep.
The Tigers in 12th.
Yep.
The Dragons in 13th.
Yep.
Newcastle 14th. Warriors 15th. Dolphins 16th, and Titans last.
Whew. All right, I'll give you my positionings, and then we'll just jump around some teams.
Yep, sure.
In 9th, I've got Canterbury. So we're in the same boat there. We're both saying...
Hold on. No Raiders.
No Raiders. They're not in 9th. Wow. I'm telling you, this savage thing is savage, to use the old punnage. It's terrible.
Okay.
I've got dogs falling just short. Then I've got Raiders in 10th, yep. Broncos in 11th, Tigers in 12th, Titans in 13th, Dragons in 14th, Knights in 15th, Warriors in 16th, and then your kids on the block getting the spoon in 17th in the Dolphins.
Well, that's pretty similar, mate, considering we didn't compare notes at all.
The team that we're missing on by a fair margin is the Titans. You've got them in last. I've got them in 13th. And I guess there's a thing about those guys that I look at, and the reason I've got them in 13th is that they showed moments last year where you went, it's not a bad footy side. It's not a bad footy side. It's got attack. It's probably a little bit average defensively, but it's got some attack. They finished 13th last year, Coxsmith, and they scored a lot of points. They went at, I scored a lot of points relative to the other teams who missed the top 8, and they still finished 6th and 18. There's a lot of improvement they'd have to do to get a bit higher. So you've got them going backwards, I guess. If they won 6 games last year, they're going to have to win 4 to finish last. What's the reason that you've got them dropping so far? I guess is the question.
Oh, mate, again, I'm looking at the players, I'm looking at the coach, and I'm just not seeing. I'm not really seeing a team that can get out of that bottom 4. To be honest with you, again, the bottom 4 and the top 4 to me are a little bit interchangeable. I mean, I might have put the Titans in there for fun. But I don't think they're going to beat too many above them.
Yeah.
Like, as far as if they were in 13th, I don't think they're going to beat too many above the 13th position. They might jag one on a crazy day, but I think there's some confusion at the Titans with the positioning of certain players. A little bit of instability with their main player who wants to possibly stay, possibly go.
Is he going to be affected by having not signed a contract if it gets to the first couple of rounds and he hasn't got a deal? Do you reckon he'll play better football before he gets a deal or after he gets a deal? That's my question to you.
Well, you know my thoughts on that. I think a lot of players play really, really good football until they start to feel safe, and then when they start to feel safe, and especially players where with a back rower that you got to have big efforts and big moments. A little bit different to a centre or a winger. You got to go out there and make a big impact, and as a back rower, it's a little bit difficult to do that unless you've got the energy and drive to do that. So I think Fafita will play for his next contract. And I don't think it's going to be at Canberra from what I've been reading this week. So that if he wants to stay in Queensland, that only really leaves 3 clubs. Is he going to go to Bennett? Is he?
They'll have money to spend, I'm sure. I'm sure they will, because we'll get to their roster in a sec. But the thing with Fafita is that what I can't understand if I'm Justin Holbrook, and I think this speaks to his whole approach. To me, they've got a team that needs to attack. They've got people who can create things. Defensively, they're going to be average, but you got to go all out attack, because if they play safe, he's out of a job. They just are. What baffles me is that you sign Kieran Foran, all right, who is one of the master short ball passers still in the game. He's fantastic going the line and then setting up an outside man.
Sure.
He's playing on the opposite side to Fafita. Why?
Yeah, that's strange.
Insane. That's insane. It just makes
you
no
want
sense
him and Fafita together.
Oh,
like Lions and Menzies.
And if you want to keep Fafita, you've got to make him happy, and you've got to give the guy who can pass him the ball and create space for him as much. We got a message via Instagram from Aaron Brooks, who has already declared that Fafita, forget Canberra 24, forget the Titans 24, forget the Dolphins 24. Why not the Roosters in 24? We shall see, Mr. Brooks. We shall see.
Hold on. Who's this Brooks man? Is he related to the great Luke Brooks?
I'll have to check that. He may want to confirm or deny that, but he's been a listener for a long time.
Might actually be Luke Brooks incognito.
It may be. Let's go back to the top of this rung.
Yep.
Dogs.
Yep.
Marnie's a great addition. Kickout's a great addition.
Yep.
Gus, obviously.
They'll be knocking on the door.
We did a whole podcast on the Bulldogs, people, if you want to listen to it. Nothing really drastically has changed. I think we're both in the zone of they'll be a good footy side. They'll play interesting football. But I can't force them into that top 8 ahead of the teams I've got in there. Bar maybe Manly. That's how I'm feeling about them. And for you, I guess Canberra or Parramatta.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Bulldogs. I think they're a year or two away. They're probably, with all due respect to young Flanagan, and I can't pick on him because he's been under more scrutiny than anyone since he signed that Roosters contract and was basically dumped out the back door at the end of that year. He's a player under pressure, and to play in that position in teams that are struggling a little bit under that kind of pressure is probably not great. That's not your ideal as a halfback. But I want to see him succeed, and I wish him the best of luck this year, and I hope he does succeed. I really do want to see that, but I still think that they're a playmaker away from being a team that could consistently toy with the top 8 and be in there. They're obviously I think they're a fullback away as well, and I'm not sure. And I'm not sure Crichton's the answer to that.
Yeah, cold hard fact of Canterbury: 7-17 last year, finished 12th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they got to win 5 games more to get into the top 8 race.
Yep,
that's the hard part.
It's a lot of games.
I think they can win 4 of those with the squad they've got, and I think they'll improve. But yeah, I just have them falling just short of the 8. What was your view on Manly before we? Obviously, I've got them in 8th. You've got them in 10th, 11th. Sorry. Yep. What's is it too much hope in Tommy? Is it Supercoach Seabold wasting time? What's going on?
Oh no. Look, I haven't seen enough of Manly to see how they're playing. And see, the Seabold effect won't be. And I'm talking positively or negatively.
Yeah,
won't be in clear view until probably after round 12. I would have thought. I think, given all that we've seen, that the goods and the maybe not so goods take a little while to reveal themselves. I'm sure Seabold knows the game. There's no doubt that he's a student of the game. He knows the game. This is his kind of opportunity now to be a coach going forward, or to not. And if the Manly players, who we know can be a little bit sensitive to certain things, don't like him, this will be the end of him. He'll probably end up in rugby union. So, and I don't want to see that. I don't particularly want to death ride a bloke I don't even know. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes forward. All I can really go on here is the players. If Tommy's fit, they're a lot more chance of finishing higher than where I've picked them. But he needs to be fit for the season. He needs to be fit and play. He's played not many games in the last 2 years. Manly need him to play 70% of the games that are available to him. To have his fingerprints on what could be a successful year. If his fingerprints aren't on it, I don't think they're going to have a very successful year.
Here's the stat. Manly last year, 9 wins, 15 losses, but they lost their last 7. They were 9 and 8. That's why I've got them sitting back in the 8, is that they weren't abysmal last year until the end of the season, and then they fell off the map. Tommy didn't play any of those games. So you've got them 11th. Brisbane, we've done a pod on them already. If you want to listen to that, it's on the channel. Adam Reynolds' hamstrings. He plays 20. He plays all their games. They make the 8, but he ain't playing all their games. It's not.
No, I don't think they make the 8 if he plays all their games, mate. They're a 5'8". They're a 5'8" and a hooker away. I think there's other issues. I think obviously it's a very political club. The Broncos, they're used to a level of success historically, which they're not seeing at the moment. And I'm still weirded out that when a player like Coruscant comes up for, that they don't chase him. The Tigers get him.
They've got a
good
kid
luck to the
called
Tigers.
Blake Moser is the one that they're putting all their faith in. He's 19, 18.
Well, but he's probably, let's see how he goes. But he's probably not going to be the difference maker this year.
No.
And to have the coach's son that has been well discussed in there, who's
he's serviceable. He's serviceable,
but he's a journeyman at best.
Yeah,
he's a journeyman at best.
And I actually think he's playing his best position. I think he's more of a 9 than he is a 6. But
he might be.
He's
but
warming
I
the
think
seat for Moser.
I think he's a 14, not a 9. I think he's a player that can probably come off and give you, come on and give you 10 or 15 minutes here and there. That'll give you your number one rake a breather. But hey, and Adam Reynolds, Adam's a work in progress. We don't know if he's going to play. You don't know from week to week with him how he's going to come up. What he is, I think, he's a future coach. But that's not helping him now. Or probably is helping him a little bit, considering.
Final point on Brisbane before we move on. We've got some other teams you have to run to. But does Reece, I can never say his first name properly into the W, Reece Walsh thrive or wither under the spotlight? Because he's been playing out of it for the last 2 years.
I think there's going to be an issue there. I think Cobbo's going to want to play fullback. And I think Reece Walsh will want to play fullback, and 2 don't fit into 1. And
good luck,
there's
Kevy.
going to be an issue.
There's going to be an issue. We've done Tigers pod. Plenty on that. Turnover of the roster, new coach, new coaching staff.
Yep.
I think we've both got them in 12th. To me, that is the up point. That's the high point. They're not going any higher than that. I don't think that side is strong enough. But I want to see moments that say, yeah, we went from 4 wins in the spoon to 8 wins or maybe 10 wins. And to me, that gets them into that 12th spot. No higher, I don't think that.
Yeah, mate, I'd look at their coach, who's been a wonderful coach in football, in rugby league for a long time, on and off. Obviously a great student of the game as well. I'm not sure how his game is going to translate into 2023. I hope it works for him. I think on the field, their spine isn't strong, and that's probably going to count against them, to be honest with you. In certain other areas in their forward pack, they've done a great job of rebuilding, but they need to work on some incoming players for that spine. I noticed this week they missed out on Mitchell Moses, who didn't go for the bigger offer back to go to the Tigers, and I think well done to both of the Tigers and for Mitchell, because it showed that maybe Mitchell, in the short term anyway, isn't just thinking about the money. And secondly, I think the Tigers did well not to get Mitchell Moses back, because I think he's had his time at the Tigers, and I think it's time for them to look somewhere else.
They did re-up Adam Dewey, so that was interesting. Let's go to your team. We've done, if you want a Tigers deep dive, it's on a podcast. Grab it. Dragons. You've got them in 13th. I got them in 14th. And the only reason I have them in 14th is out of respect for Ben Hunt.
Okay. Ben Hunt, everything is built on Ben Hunt this year, which when you take when you take into consideration that he will more than likely, unbackable odds be in the Queensland team unless he's injured. They'll be without him for 3 to 4 games because of that, which doesn't bode well for the Dragons. They'll struggle to win any of those games, I would imagine, unless they're playing the Dolphins 3 times. Mate, all over the park, they need reinforcements. They don't have them. They're a bit of a shambles.
Needs to play the kids. Needs to play.
Well, he's destroyed one. Sloan has no confidence. I don't know. Is
it in buy time at fullback again?
It has to be.
Oh, I can't keep talking about it. I didn't see the Charity Shield. I'm glad I didn't, for your sake.
I saw highlights.
They were 12 and 12 last year, so I haven't got them going all the way to the bottom, even though I didn't rate them going into last year. 8 and 14, 8 and 16 probably is more of the area, and that's about 14th. Then we've got the 3 teams I think that we've sort of said are in the same category. It's Knights, Warriors, and Dolphins. I got Dolphins last. The only team you've got beyond those 3 sides is the Titans. Very quickly, what's going to go wrong at Newcastle?
Ponga won't work out at 6.
Making 25 tackles a game, I can tell you that. That ain't happening.
But, mate, he's going to get knocked out if he does. He's got a glass jaw anyway. We've spoken about that. I think the coach is under immense pressure, and he isn't Robinson Crusoe either. There's a couple in the comp that are as well under immense pressure, and coaches make sometimes rash decisions under pressure. Very rarely does it work out well for them. At least in the medium to long term, it might get them through a game here and there. But yeah, I don't see the Knights doing much. Again, hope I'm wrong. There's a few players in that team I really like. Jackson Hastings being one of them. I think he was hard done by last year, as we've spoken about, or as I've spoken about.
Yeah.
But we'll see. They're one of those teams you don't know which Newcastle are going to turn up. But I'll tell you which Newcastle probably won't turn up, and that's the Newcastle that are going to beat anyone in the top 8. So, yeah.
What does it say about O'Brien that he goes and buys 2 Englishmen for 24, and then his current Englishman decides to go play for the Roosters?
I don't know if you can read too much into O'Brien on that. Obviously, it doesn't read well for him, but I think Coach Robinson, basically cornered Mr. Young and had a
what does he buy him? Where does he take him? What restaurant? I want to go to this restaurant because you owe me dinners, and I want to go to the restaurant.
I'm not sure which restaurant it is. Whatever it is, I'm sure I can't afford it, especially after the last week I've had in Nashville. But I think there must have been a twinkle in the eye, and Dom Young's fallen for it hook, line, and sinker, and he's now going to be a Rooster for 2024. In fact, I hear they're trying to get him for 23. How unlike the Roosters is that?
Anyway, Warriors, and I'm going to put Dolphins in the same category. It's going to be a very, very long year in the land of the long white cloud. At least they're playing there. To me, they've got 3 quality players in Tohu Harris, Fanua Blake, and Sean Johnson, and that's it. I just can't see them winning a significant portion of their game. It's going to be a tough year, and I just want to know where's the salary cap being spent in New Zealand?
I have no idea. I can't tell you. I can't tell you, mate.
Anything to add on those guys or not? And I don't want to be rude, but
no, mate. Look, they're another team that I really want to see do well. There's not too many teams I want to see fail, to be honest. But I look at their roster, and there's not much doing. A lot of young guys, a lot of guys you never heard of, and a lot of guys you'll never hear of again as well. And a rookie coach. I mean, what does that add up to? It either adds up to me looking totally silly by saying this, or it adds up to bottom 3. And I think that's what's going to be.
Let's go to Redcliffe. Now, we probably should have done a pod on them and their roster, given they're a new team. I apologise. But Wayne Bennett took this job, as far as I'm concerned, because he could, not because he wanted to. And
you could be right, yep.
They're in a lot of hurt because they've had 12 months to build a roster. And I'm of the firm belief that pretty much 98% of that roster is made up of players that other teams were happy to let go.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're. I don't know if they're the Redcliffe Dolphins or the Redcliffe Discards. To be honest, I know that sounds terrible.
Definitely not Redcliffe. We can't call them Redcliffe, so that's what we're calling them for the rest of the time here on the show. It's Redcliffe.
We'll call them the Discards. Look, with all due respect, there are some good players in the team. In their roster, I don't think there's any great players. Their halfback.
O'Sullivan. I like him, but
I like him as well, and he's another player that I thought probably, I don't know what they're paying him there, and I don't really care, but I thought that another team might have had a bite at his availability, given what we know he can produce. So yeah, mate, there's not much to be said for the Dolphins this year until we see them go through.
I like the stadium.
Yeah, until we see them go through the first 6 rounds. I can't get a feel on them. I mean, Coach Bennett hasn't even been showing up to games. I mean,
mate, they've got the Roosters first week. It could be a bloodbath. And here's an interesting point. There's still tickets available. How the heck is there still tickets available to the Dolphins' first ever game?
Can you just talk me through? Give me 30 seconds on why Bennett wasn't showing up to games. He's a coach.
Maybe
he's the inaugural coach.
Here's my theory. They're doing a Stan Sport documentary. He didn't want to be on it.
Well,
seriously, that's Uncle Benny. It's like, nah, I've had enough of you. You've been with me the whole pre-season, and I'm having a weekend off. You're about to be with me for the rest of the time. So there you go. There's my theory. I
don't get it.
We have to go to the grand final tips. We've only got 8 minutes left on the Zoom. We've zoomed through again. Who's in your grand final, Coxsmith?
Mate, I think it's going to be South and Penrith.
I've got Penrith and Melbourne. Melbourne with the big run home.
Right.
And who's winning?
Oh, mate, I think every year that they, when they get, when they've had a lot of success, I think they get less and less a chance to win. I think Penrith do, but I think that'll be the end of the dynasty for a while.
Yep.
That's if all players are fit. I mean,
I know. That's all we can base
in a perfect world. So, that's my thoughts on it. And that's not just me being a bit of a Penrith hanger on. I just look at their team, and the only weakness that I see at the moment is the hooker. They do have a young guy that a little bit probably like Brisbane, probably too young to hang on this year, but I think he'll play moments. I forget his name. He played in a trial the other week.
Summerton?
Is that him? Young guy, real quick out of dummy half.
Yeah, I think that's the kid you're thinking of. I hadn't heard of him before he played that game. Look, I've got Penrith winning because they are the 2-time defending premiers. They've got ice in their veins. Why can't I pick them again?
They know how to win.
They do, and that's why I'll go with them. So Penrith is from both of us. Dally M.
Dally M this year will be, let me think about it for 10 seconds. Nathan Cleary this time.
Same. I think he will run away with it this year. This is his award that he hasn't got yet, and he will run away with it. Top try scorer?
Top try scorer. Man, I can never pick these, so I'm just going to go Johnson again.
I reckon he's going to go tied. I'm going with 2. I think if Toto ends up on the left again, where he should be playing, now that Taylor May's out, I have a feeling Toto scores an absolute boatload this year. And then conversely, we're both saying Cleary's winning Dally M, probably plays most of the games, so I've got him as top point scorer as well. Rookie of the year, I'm not even going to ask you because we need to set actually some time aside for that. There is a bunch of names out there. I will try and put something up on the website.
Which that's what we should do on the next pod. I get home, just so you know, I get home on Wednesday next week.
Yeah, but I'm in the territory for a week out of range, so that's going to have to be after round 1. We'll start looking at the rookies.
Okay,
at least then we'll know who's in the mix.
You also mentioned on who's going to be fired this year.
Yeah, we've got 4 minutes left in the pod. Give me your 3, 2, 1. Who's the third most likely to go? The second most likely to go, and who's going?
The third most likely is Holbrook. The second most likely is O'Brien, and unfortunately for Anthony Griffin, I'm not sure he's going to see Easter. No, he'll see Easter. I'm not sure he's going to see first state of origin as a coach.
I can't disagree with those options. I've got Holbrook in 3. Griffin, though, in 2. And I think O'Brien's the first one. And I actually have a little feeling like he might actually fall on his sword, which would be somewhat appropriate when he coaches Newcastle.
What round? Give me what round?
I haven't looked at their draw, but by round 10, he ain't there. There you go. I think Ponga's either unhappy he's playing 6 or he's injured, and they've got no ability to score points. They can't tackle, and things are just going badly for him. That's just the gut feel with Newcastle for me. And
you think Griffin is going to remain, or do you think he's a fair chance of going as well?
He'll outlast O'Brien. That's what I'll give you.
Okay.
That's what I'll give you. Finally, State of Origin.
Yep.
I need a tip.
Yep.
And a reason why.
New South Wales 3-0 because Tommy's got good hammies.
Tommy and Mitchell both play. They play 3 games. We win 3-0. There you go, Queenslanders. Stick that up, yeah. 2-1 is my prediction because I just don't see how both of them play all 3 games.
Yeah, they probably won't. If they get to 2-0, I'm not sure that Freddie is going to have the power to pull, Tommy in for another game that's virtually a dead rubber.
Indeed. That's been Not the Footy Show episode 281. It's a bumper season preview for 2023. Yep. You've got our 1-17s. You've got our grand finalists. We're both saying Penrith are going for the triple treat. First team since Parramatta in the early 80s. It's going to be the Nathan Cleary show for 2023 is what we're believing. But I do feel like the comp is fairly open. Last year, it felt like I thought it was, Penrith are going to win it. They're going to win it.
I think it's more open this year than
it feels more open. And we've got a few teams going back. So we'd love to hear what your thoughts are about your top 8, the team that's going to rise, team that's going to fall. If you watch on YouTube, hate saying it, but apparently it works. Like or subscribe us. That'd be great. We'll have some Coxsmith actually in the box next episode, I promise. He'll be looking all pretty with his Nashville outfit. What's the get up over there? Is it cowboy hats? What's the deal?
Oh, no, full rodeo gear, mate. I've got arseless chaps on at the moment. And
isn't that what a chap is? Isn't it already has no rear end? I thought that's
well, the ones I have don't have a rear end in them.
We'll speak to you next time on the Footy Show. Hope you've enjoyed hearing us back, and let's bring on 2023. Take us out, Coxsmith.
Pepsi.
Not the Footy Show.
You've been sleeping over there.
Pepsi.